Hi, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Aviation Champions. I'm your host, Miranda Gahn, co-founder of Lex Aero Aviation Law Firm. This morning, I had the distinct pleasure of introducing you to Evan Makovsky. Evan is a private aviation advisor working for Charter Jet One. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning, Miranda. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you so much for your willingness to join us. So tell us a little bit about your background, how it is you became a private aviation advisor, and how you found yourself in the field of aviation.
Well, I worked for 15 years as a sports broadcaster, mostly in radio, some TV, and that field, at least AM radio, sort of flatlined. And I had moved into media sales, which kind of transitioned me into PR, business development. And then I had launched back sort of into broadcasting, a podcasting company. And a major operator hired me because at the time, this was around 2021, there was a pilot shortage, and they hired me, the CMO did, to interview. Their chief pilot took a job with a major commercial airline. They promoted within, and they had me interview their new chief pilot about the benefits of being a pilot for this operator, and they would use it as an employee recruiting tool. So there you go, is the difference between, let's say, a marketing podcast and a pop culture podcast. If you're not a pilot for that podcast, you really have no use for it. But that was one step. And then another one, I had the head of a different brokerage on my business podcast, and that person asked me at the end of the taping if I wanted to take leads, and I didn't know anything about it. This person knew I was in sales, and I said yes. And so while the leads at the time weren't that great that were given to me, that really was kind of my first, unbeknownst to me, step into the aviation business.
Okay. Well, that is fascinating. Not exactly a direct route, and I would say I think that's not uncommon. My route, certainly to aviation, was not direct. So tell our audience a little bit about what private aviation advisor is and does. I don't think a common person would perhaps understand exactly what that is.
So some people use the term broker or whatever, but you are essentially a salesperson for your brokerage, or if you work on the retail side for an operator that may own or house and kind of Airbnb out owners' planes. There is a retail function too on the operator side, but you're basically transacting with the end user, the person who is the passenger, the person who's doing the transaction, who's going to take the trip. Usually, I guess it could be somebody buying a trip for somebody else, but more times than not, they are a passenger on the trip that is being transacted. And your job is to, find the plane for that person by sourcing different operators, a plane that fits with the distance and duration that person is going to fly. Usually, if it's a longer distance, you need, let's say, a super mid plane or a heavy jet versus a light or a mid, unless they're open to a fuel stop. But you find the plane that suits the passenger, you give them a price that works for them and works for you, and then your job too is to basically make sure that everything is as ordered, from the plane, repositioning and being there at the correct time for the passenger's departure, which is usually a minimum of an hour, some places 90 minutes ahead of departure time. So the plane has to be in position to take off. Your job is basically to ensure all the details, that the catering is straight, that everything is as presented, and many times you're tracking that flight to make sure everything lands okay, and you're really not off duty. You're never off duty, actually, because you're just kind of 24/7. If somebody needs a flight, sometimes it's the day of, but you're basically on that trip until that person lands and deplanes and everything's good, and they get, they have their baggage and whatnot. Then for at least that trip, you're usually done.
Well, that's fascinating. So you are kind of a conduit, a go-between middleman and concierge. So
Yeah.
very high-end, very specialized, where you're working with a client who wants to pursue private aviation and travel that way. And then you're also providing a service where you're connecting folks that have aircraft. They're looking to fly and perhaps make and create a revenue stream from flying and owning the aircraft. And you're bringing those parties together and making it a great high-end experience for the client. That's really fascinating. Does that sound right?
Yes, it sounds pretty much on point. I guess you're the luxury travel advisor for the aviation part of
Okay.
their vacation.
Oh, I like it. Well, that's fantastic. So, based on your experience and what you're seeing in this part of aviation travel, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see facing the industry?
I mean, there is fuel prices, and you private aviation is for affluent people because it's very expensive. Just being upfront, but you find that there are people with different attitudes towards money. If you want to say wealthy people, there are some people, I guess, that don't care about price, and fuel costs don't make a difference, or you give them quotes that one is $5,000 less than another one, that they're going to go maybe just with whatever they desire, with price being lower down in that decision making process. But then there are also people who are very wealthy who want the best price within what they can afford. And you see that more often than you would imagine, of people that would be this wealthy. So your job is still to get them the best possible price, as you could lose their business
Sure.
conceivably to another private aviation advisor. So sure, like the rising fuel costs, which does affect everybody, but you don't know who's getting what deal or whatever, even though mostly we're all fishing from the same pond as far as operators go. But fuel prices have made, uh, with the war in Iran, have made it about a short domestic flight about 5% more expensive. A longer range, like domestic flight, let's say a New York to Teterboro, let's say to Los Angeles, or Van Nuys is a popular private airport in LA. That's about 8 to 15% more expensive these days. An international flight can be $5 to $20,000 more expensive. So I mean, that's that's
So it's
not.
being impacted to some degree, but maybe not as much as you might expect. But it sounds like it makes your job a little more challenging,
Yes, I
where
mean,
you really have to create value for the client that has the money to pay for something like this, but wants to feel like they're getting value from the service they're paying for. Well, that's so. I'll tie this into the next question. Maybe you can tell me, and maybe it's not related, but what sort of trends are you seeing in private aviation and charter aircraft?
I mean, I think that there is more mergers and acquisitions. You seem to hear about at least one a month, or this small company's going away. So, also with, yeah, like a lot of businesses. So you see that changing around. And I'm talking about too with brokerages and operators. I mean, private aviation really picked up during COVID, because I think
Right.
that people didn't want to be around other people, and
Yeah.
private aviation afford if you have the means, private aviation affords you the luxury to not be around other people. But I mean, I think that there's also more back office stuff which is hitting a lot of fields, but there is, you know, elect, electronics and computer activity. So, like the quoting process is being more automated. There's already
Sure.
companies out there that will handle that for maybe brokerages that don't have enough people, and they can handle that back office stuff. And everything that is automated is being sort of sped up with artificial intelligence
Sure.
and AI, as you like to. But I mean, yes, there AI assisted quoting and proposal generation, CRM systems that automatically prioritize leads.
So it sounds to
Um,
me like the industry is trying to adapt and make itself survivable, right? So as fuel costs increase, perhaps, or maintenance costs, businesses are looking for a way to survive and continue to make a profit, whether it's mergers and acquisitions or leveraging technology like AI to bring the value to the client.
yeah, and also like you're saying, like reduce their costs like many businesses or
Sure.
whatever. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not that, if we can automate something and save X amount of dollars, we're going to look at that, which isn't necessarily, it can, that obviously can hit the human workforce and affect. But
Sure.
I think some of the, like, yes, the quoting or those kinds of things are, you know, yeah, humans can be replaced on some level, but you still also,
But you
there,
still need your expertise, right?
yes, yes,
Your concierge service,
yes.
which I can appreciate, and I think a lot of your clients probably do. Well, Evan, it's been so great having you on the show and providing kind of some insight into private aviation and what that entails. If anyone was interested in getting in touch with you for your services or to ask you more about what it is you do, how can they find you?
I guess they can write down my number if they want to fly private or they have any questions. I'll say it twice. It's 310-428-7210. That's 310-428-7210. And my email is Evan at Charterjet One. You're welcome to even, just ask me a question. You don't need to inquire about a trip, but sure, I can give you a quote at any time. And that's usually how it all starts. It all starts with a quote, Miranda. It all starts with a quote.
Okay, great, Evan. Well, thank you again for your time. We look forward to staying in touch.